Hello, I'm James, and I'm an old guy in Europe. Hello, and welcome to another episode of An Old Guy in Europe. This week, in addition to the usual banter with Carl Munson on his Good Morning Portugal Show, I address the questions of how I respond to the question, how are you? And am I proud to be an American? And we talk a bit also about the mostly peaceful revolution of the 25th of April, 1974 here in Portugal. So, as always, I invite you to please sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Swing!
Bom dia!
Yeah, James, how are you? After the way.
I love that song. I need to give it credit. You sent me the title once, and it's like, oh, I like that. It's called Redwood Highway, so it's like perfect. Great choice.
It is absolutely perfect. Although, I guess the banana slug, a lejma de banana, is not so much a highway creature, more a back lane, right? But I love it. It's really it's joyful. It's joyful. Are you joyful this morning? Do you celebrate American Independence Day, James? Can you tell us more about it?
Let me give you the long answer. No.
Okay. Why is that then?
It's funny. When you propose, me sharing thoughts on that, I had something else that I was working on in the moment, but then said, oh, well, that seems appropriate. Okay. So I woke up this morning, what are my thoughts? Where did they go? And it went more to nationality, and I can talk about that in a minute. But for me, it actually is kind of along the line of what I was going to speak to this morning is when someone says, how are you? I learned a long time ago, and this is part of how the actual practice of changing our thoughts is, what do I base my answer on? Yes, because I will think things like that. Someone will say, how are you? And I say, what do I want to base my answer on?
You stand there in thought while people are expecting an answer. It takes very long these days.
Ultimately, the long story short is I decided that if we're not just answering by the default of fine, thanks, how are you? Just sort of Nobody really cares how you're doing. They're just going through the protocol of making contact. If you're going to give a truthful answer, then what do you base your answer on? And I discovered that generally we base our answer on what has happened most recently. So if it's in the morning, how was it getting up in the morning? Was I late? Was I on time? Did things go smoothly? Was it a pain in the butt? And then my answer is dependent on that. So if I was late to work and my shoelace broke and my car wouldn't start, then, I'm going to be honest, not so great. But, if everything went smoothly, my coffee was hot and on time and I was early and, then I could say, I'm feeling really good. Yeah. So I decided that that's too circumstantial. It's too variable. I want something that I can count on, so I look to the future. I said, why not answer that based on the future, not based on the past? And I said, you can't do that. I said, well, who wrote the rule book? What's the rule say? And for me,
it's all still going on inside your head.
Yes, all of this. Well, not in the moment. When someone asked me, I went home later and started thinking about it. It took me a little while to get to the final place. But ultimately, I said, the future is more dependable because I can decide what I want my future to be. I can decide how I want to be in my future. If I'm deciding how I want to be based on my past, then it's going to really just be totally dependent on what circumstances have occurred. Yeah. So I decided to rewrite my own rule book about that and answer the question with the intention I had for my life. So I want my life to be great. I want my life to be fabulous. I want to be happy. I want to be all these things in my future, the things I'm working toward, the things I'm training myself toward. So I started answering that question, how are you, with fantastic. And it caught people by surprise. They was like, why? What's so fantastic?
Steady on now.
Yes. I said, the road to my future is amazing, kind of like that. And then I started actually thanking them for asking me, because every time now that I'm asked, I'm reminded that this is the future I plan for myself. So I most consistently, when I'm being conscious about it, answer some exclamation of something very positive, because I am very excited about my future based on what I'm creating today. So that's actually my abbreviated answer to the question. How are you? I'm fantastic. Thank you.
What was the question again? Yeah. No, I do love that. I absolutely love that. And doesn't surprise me at all. And I think it's a fantastic sort of comic character in there, isn't there, from a sketch show? The thinking guy, in everyday situations. Where he's like, how would you like your coffee? It's like, here we go. That's right. It's like a big thinking,
caffeine.
That's right. And then the bartender is like, I'm not going to ask him if he wants sugar or not. I'm just going to give him the sugar. But this is what we know and love about you. Very thoughtful and coming up with some pithy insight and wisdom. How did you connect that with Independence Day, by the way?
Well, that was, you actually kicked it off with asking me how I was. And I said, that was that was something I was going to talk about today, which is shaping our thoughts. So it gave me a chance to throw that in there. But then as I was contemplating Independence Day, I started having thoughts like, well, Independence Day or 4th of July it's like a nationalist thing. Like, I love my country. And then I got to thinking about a statement somebody made in one of my psychotherapy classes. Someone made the statement, I love being a man. I said, And people who claim I love being an American, it's like, I love America to me is kind of like I love the ocean, or I love, it's like it's a geographical location, and America is, and being in America is nothing particularly astounding, like being anywhere on the planet. That's just where we are, so I love being American. I love being human.
Yes.
I love being this human more specifically. Like, being human is too general. There's all kinds of humans that I would not want to be like, but I love this human. So to be honest about Independence Day and America, it's not I love America. It's like I was born in America. I grew up in America. I'm familiar with America. Do I love America? Well, there's some things about it I really like, and there's other things about it that I can't stand. So
that is so honest. But we can't really have a snappy title for a day that encapsulates all of that, can we?
Yes, and when you think of the history of it, that was a gruesome, painful war where people were tortured and killed, and it was horrible.
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing because people got killed and tortured. I'm laughing at the whole sort of irony of this situation that you're creating for us. You're right, and I think that's why, isn't it? We don't have vaguely happy to be human and possibly American Day. The more specific it is, the better, in a way, isn't it? Which leads us on to Happy Birthday, Owen, for example. We can celebrate the birth of an individual, can't we? Which may be what we'll do. Maybe what we'll do is, like, forever for everybody now. Happy Independence Day. Anonymous with Owen. Happy birthday, Owen.
Happy birthday, Owen. I was going to say it might be more appropriately Independence Day for him, like an independent human being. Yes, celebrate that.
A sovereign specimen of greatness. There he is, Owen. So happy birthday to you, Owen. And it'd be so great to hear from other Americans, because often I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, often I don't know what I'm talking about, full stop. But certainly when it comes to American matters, I can put my foot in it. And also, it's a little bit totally orcs, isn't it? With the British-American thing on this particular day.
Yeah, absolutely. Given the conflict that existed that created that whole thing.
Yes.
And I also went to thinking, there's other places that Britain colonized that didn't have a revolution, they seem to be doing just fine. Well, Canada, for instance. Well, France might have an argument with that. No, we were there. All right. However you want. It's primarily British. To me, the more playful and less potentially controversial aspect, and looking at how in some ways are humans very similar around the world. And I got to thinking, Americans will take any excuse to have a barbecue and fireworks and have a party and get drunk. And I said,
that's
a lot like Portugal, It's like, there's a party and a holiday and food and fireworks, once a week, every week.
That's right. Portuguese actually outdo the Americans in that way, don't they?
Yes.
A nom de plume mistake. Independence Day is mainly now a big picnic and fireworks, with due respect for those who sacrifice. Yes, and with due respect for those who sacrificed their lives so we could detach from the British. Yeah, well said. I suppose we do. It's important that we live in conversations now, isn't it, rather than shorthands? And I think that is the problem with great. Happy Independence Day. Hopefully, that's a great greeting and a reason to be happy. And then so much of the time now, we are unpacking things, aren't we? We're having conversations about things. And I think nom de plume, you sum it up beautifully there. By saying Happy Independence Day, we're in no way undermining any suffering that's gone on behind that. But then that I don't think that need cast a shadow over proceedings. And why not have a barbecue and a good drink like we do in Portugal for some reason every single week?
Yes. And I think, I would guess most Americans don't even think about what the day is. It's just a holiday. So we don't have to go to work and we can have a party,
Yes.
And that's the nature of, I think, most holidays. So you think about many of the holidays, they are based on very somber things that have occurred that we're wanting to remember. And yet we use them as an opportunity to celebrate. And I don't see there's anything wrong with that, as long as we don't lose track of the origin of the day. Maybe take a moment and say, I get to live the lifestyle I live in the United States because there were a bunch of people who said, we're not putting up with this anymore and we're going to fight for it. And because of that, we got what we got. And then it's evolved into what it is, which is, I don't think, quite consistent with the original intentions of the people that fought for independence. But
so often the way. There's another reason to have the conversation, because it's so often the way, isn't it? With struggle. Why we had the remembrance of the Battle of the Somme last week. Why on earth did that happen, and why does it continue to happen in some way as well? That there's senseless slaughter of human beings. Quite the topic this morning, but we don't shy away from anything.
I don't want to end on senseless slaughter, so I want to get back to. Portugal's Independence Day. I think that's one of the reasons that the Portuguese are so proud of their Independence Day, because it was relatively nonviolent.
Yes,
very few people died or were injured as a result of that. There was a essentially peaceful change of the guard, so to speak, and it just stands out in world history. As far as I know, that's the first time a revolution has ever occurred in that manner. So. That's the place where it's like, let's celebrate that too, that we have evolved to the point that we can have differences and change our minds or make things different without necessarily having to create massive slaughter and war. That's the world I would explore.
Well said on this day, on this significant day for Americans. You're going to stick around. You're not going to disappear, because we're enjoying the conversation between the three of us when Gilda joins us in just a moment. But before she does, you've got a Will Rogers quote of the day. Do you want to? I'll put it on the screen so you can read it in case you've thrown that post-it away.
I'm not going to attempt my Will Rogers imitation, because I really have no idea what he sounded like either. But yes, there are men running governments who shouldn't be allowed to play with matches. That to me felt like a pretty appropriate quote for looking at Independence Day and our last presidency for me personally.
Okay. You snuck in a little political comment there. I think we'll go to some early dad jokes to lighten the mood before.
There we go.
Before Gilda's arrival.
Morning.
Oh, yes, afraid so. We have some lovely dad jokes here from Thunder Duck and some Portuguese sayings, which we'll save until Gilda gets here, because she might enjoy those as well. So, dad jokes. Why did the monk refuse? Is this a dad joke? I mean, your kids are going to say, Daddy, what's Novocaine? But anyway, why did the monk refuse Novocaine when he had his tooth pulled? He wanted to transcend dental medication. Advanced. I think that's probably a dad joke for teenagers there. Very, very good. That could spark up a conversation about the meaning of life while you're on a road trip. Very good. And for the more junior children, infants possibly with this one, why do cows have bells? Because their horns don't work. A classic. Thanks for explaining the word many to me. It means a lot. Very good. I didn't quite know what was happening there, but now I do. Thank you very much, and I'm glad we apologized before
you were warned.
You were warned. That's right. No comeback.